Gorgeous people. Welcome to the morning show. Oh my goodness, we're back. I am your host, Marley Ansel, at Marley Ansel on the Instagrams, and this is the morning show where you come to get your daily dose of inspiration and level up into your highest being. There is so much to talk about. Oh my goodness. Hello, Michaela. Let's dive in. How are we feeling? It's been a week. We had a little vacay, we had a little break, and it was a godsend. It was incredible. I'm excited to chat about it. But today's topic of the hour is this holy Aries eclipse. Who's feeling it already? I have stories to tell. Stories to tell you. This energy is so big, you guys. Oh my gosh. Okay, so before we get all up in it, let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the precipice of a lot of big change. We have been doing the work. Amen. Praise Jesus in the hallelujahs. Thank God for that. We have been talking about this. We've been talking about the shifts, the changes, the things that we have been being called to let go, what we're stepping into. But that doesn't mean that we know what all is going to happen. And this is kind of one of the great things about the cosmos and the planetary shifts and what gets triggered in us, because we don't know. We don't know. We have what we think we know. We have the information that's given to us. We have our intuitive channel, which is the most accurate, but we don't know exactly. So we're going to dive into everything. I'm going to tell you a couple of very surprising things that happened to me this past week. And then we're going to talk about what you need to kind of be thinking about as this big shift is happening. So, as we know, eclipses, well, I don't know that you guys know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Eclipse energy unfolds over 6 months. So, we've been leading up to this, and what is going to occur is going to unfold over the next 6 months. So important that we talk about it. Hi, Amber. Amber said, good morning. We are 99% pretty excited for the littles to see it and hope that the clouds hold off. It's perfectly clear right now. How cool is that? How cool is that? I'm very excited about it as well. I was telling my husband this morning, like, I'm not so interested in like the glasses and staring up at it. I want to be in tune with nature. I want to feel the shift. I want to notice the light change. I want to see how nature reacts. That to me is just so interesting. So I'm very, very excited for it today. So if you, depending on your time zone and where your location is, you want to look and see what time the totality of the eclipse is for you. Now, obviously, the energy is already in orb, so we're already starting to feel it. But the exact moment of the totality is only a few seconds. So we want to have a preparation in place. So we're talking about it this morning, so you will be prepared. We're going to dive into all of the energies that it is said to bring up. Again, it's going to be unique to you. Okay, so let's just get into it. So here we are. I was on vacation last week leading up to this Aries solar eclipse. As much as I think about and look at and dive into all of the cosmos, every single time I tell you I am shocked and surprised by the things that happen because it's always so unexpected. So last week, we went on vacation with my husband's family. Now, those of you who have been in my life for a while, you know we do these trips every year. We do 1 to 2 a year. Historically, they've been very overwhelming for me. It's gotten better every year. Reason being, his family's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But there's so many of them. There's the first time, okay, no joke. We have to talk about this. So I come from a small family and a divorced family. So like it was me and my mom growing up, and then my brother and my dad. My brother lived with my dad. I lived with my mom. That's a whole other story we don't need to go into today. But the context is that I didn't grow up in a house with a lot of people. nor did we do family vacations or any of that, right? So the first time that I go on a beach trip with Robert's family, there's 14 people, 14 people in one house. And my mind goes, no problem. No problem. I got it. I kid you not. Day 2 of this trip, I ran out the front door crying with a Dixie cup full of wine. I was so overwhelmed that I just burst out of my body, could not stay in the house another minute. They didn't do anything wrong. Like, they did nothing. This was a me thing. Completely overwhelmed by all of the energy. And, Robert and I were still rude. Why people call when I am on a live is just okay. Sorry, Instagram. So, his family is great. I was just completely overwhelmed. I ran ran out the front door, had a Dixie cup full of wine or a solo cup or whatever, and then called my mom. I was like, I don't know what to do. How do I handle this? So, all of that is to say is that these trips, that was 5 years ago. So, these trips have gone on an evolution per me. So, leading up to the trips, I would always have a little bit of anxiety in my body because I would just be a little bit worried about like, how's it going to affect me? All of the things. I'm happy to report that this was the first family beach trip that I did not feel overwhelmed, that I was like grounded, confident, felt my energy, did not tune into the whole collective. I felt so good. And I was like, yes, right? The work that works. It's such an accomplishment feeling when you have been doing the inner work on yourself. Hi, good morning. Hi, Erin. Hi, Lauren. And then you get to actually experience the shift. And this is that where I tell all of my people, and you guys know, the lucky ones pay attention because I could have missed it. It felt so seamless, so natural. I felt so good. I could have missed that drastic shift. Okay, so I was celebrating it halfway through the week, but I had a feeling in my body. Okay. I had a feeling in my body while I was celebrating. I was like, am I celebrating prematurely? Am I celebrating too early? I don't know. You know that little back of the mind feeling? Okay. Well, 3, 4 days in, I wake up in the middle of the night, completely sick, threw up, middle of the night. I have no idea why. No idea why. But that feeling of like your body is like heart beating fast, cold sweats, all of the things, threw up in the middle of the night. And I was like, no idea why. Thankfully, just one time. Because your mind starts going with the like, oh my God, did I get food poisoning? Like, what is happening? And it's just the worst, right? Thankfully, it was one time, body pushed it out, went back to bed. Next day, I felt okay. But that was the moment where I was like, I think I'm purging. Meaning, energetically, when we go through big shifts, especially forced change like these eclipses, any old mucky vibration in your body has to go. So I tell you that because if you had some weird stuff happen this past week, you might be on the same boat. So the way that I took it, the way that I understood it, because everything is energetic at its core. So even if I had eaten something that was off and that was the physical reason for why I was throwing up, there's a reason that I ate the thing that was off. You see what I'm saying? Everything lines up perfectly for exactly what we need. So, what I gathered was whatever needed to come out and came out forcefully, it was pushed out of my body midweek. I was like, okay, all right. And then the next day, I'm in gratitude. I'm in gratitude because it was done. Praise, right? I'm not in bed sick all day. Like praise, done. And then, like whenever you have a big purge like that, you're also kind of just, whew, right? So I was in gratitude and also just like chill energy. We're good. Okay. All right. Now I should know by now that most things like that are not one and done, are they? Now, the sickness was over, but not the next day, but the day after that, Robert and I are in the living room. I say something to him, and my tone, for whatever reason, triggered him. So then he reacts, and then it triggered me. And then that trigger, we ended up talking about it all night, brought up so much old emotional energy from my past, things I didn't even know still lived in my body. So then I spent that, like, those few hours of the night, I mean, boo-hoo crying. Boo-hoo cry. Like, the type of crying where you're like, "I don't even know where this is coming from. Like, how does this live in my body?" And just purged out emotionally. Eclipses will force you to move whatever is in your body. Now, praise Jesus in the holiest, I have an amazing husband that understands these things, right? So I'm up until like 1 in the morning on the last night that we're there, literally just crying my eyes out. This old energy, old memories are coming up. All this old stuff is just like purging out of me. And it's shocking to me because I didn't expect it. And also, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And, if you have been in any single program or course that I have ever taught, I celebrate when an emotion releases because that's energy that's got to move. It's got to come out of your body. When we're sitting there with that in our body, it's festering. It is holding you as an anchor in place in life because all emotions are energy, and all energy attracts to it more energy. So I want you to think about it like this. Picture that emotional ball that I just threw up and cried out my face. Picture it as like literally like an anchor. It is a ball and it's heavy. It's like one of those like dense. I'm thinking of bocce ball right now because we played that at the beach, like one of those dense, heavy balls. That's sitting in your body and it will hold you at your current energetic frequency, not allowing you to move past that level of life, keeping you in a looping reality because it's anchoring you down until you let it come out. So anytime I have a huge emotional release, it's like, praise the Jesus, thank you, move it out of my body. And this one in particular was one of those that, and this happens sometimes. And I want you to think about this. Sometimes things happen that are so out of left field, so not the norm that you're completely shocked by it, and it causes you to realize that that was supposed to happen. That was destined. That was fated. It had to come out like that. That interaction between me and Robert, not the norm. Not the norm. We typically don't trigger each other like that. But out of nowhere, trigger. And it was like it was the release that needed to happen, like the thing that broke the dam or whatever it's called. Major release. It had to happen. Did I love it during? Absolutely not. But I was very grateful for it thereafter. Aaron said, "Oh, I had a massive sobbing last week too. Yep, was wondering about it. And then I was like, oh, yep, releasing energy. Yes. And I share with you guys because it's so helpful to know that. You know what I mean? Like, it's so helpful to know that kind of emotional release is so for your benefit. It has to happen. We're doing nobody any favors suppressing all of our emotion down. That does not help anybody. That causes emotional outbursts when somebody breathes wrong. Like, we have to let this emotion move. And sometimes, if we haven't been, like, if we have, like in this example, I didn't even realize that still lived in me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I could not have inner worked my way into that coming out. Do you know what I mean? There was no journal prompt that I would have thought of to go in and get that energy out. I didn't know it was still in me. So sometimes life will cause us to have these weird moments that get triggered so that we'll move the stuff in us that needs to move. You know what I mean? And we've just got to be here for it. We've just got to be available for it because it's all for our favor. Let's see, Michaela said there's a new moon today too. Yep, that's the solar eclipse. Just randomly checked, and it's the third new year of the year. Yeah, yeah. No shortage of new beginnings. Yeah. So the solar eclipses can only happen with new moons. Lunar eclipses only happen with full moons. So today is our solar eclipse. It's going to happen if you're in Eastern time zone, I believe it is 2:21 p.m. If you are in Western time zone or Pacific time zone, I believe it's 11:21. Just double check for yourself so that you can be present with it and really like dive into this energy. Okay. So, here's my stories. Got my stories out. Let's talk about why it matters with this. Aries solar eclipse, as Michaela has said here, new moon, another new beginning, another huge new beginning. But with this, it's like the portal opens and closes. So the shift is happening whether you're ready for it or not, whether you believe in it or not, whether you think that it pertains to you or not. The shift is happening. Aries energy is all about the self. So this is very much about you. This isn't about anybody else. This isn't about like projecting onto your sister, mother, father, brother. This is about you. And wherever it's occurring for you, meaning in your astrological chart, it's asking you to level up in who you're being. Now, if you have a chart where the signs are right on with the houses, meaning if you're Aries rising, this is likely occurring for you in your first house of the self. Double, 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 double big energy about you. So, an example, just to give it out, my husband, this is in his first house. The first house is the house of the self. In that, he's got all these Aries things happening. And the one aspect he has is it is opposite his Mercury. Mercury is the way that you think. So, this is just for an example. So, this solar eclipse for him is changing, eclipse, sudden big change, changing the way he thinks about himself. You get it? So, it's going to be different for everybody, but Aries is all about the self, your identity, your ego. And I want you to think about this. That changes everything. When you shift your definition of self, that quite literally changes every aspect of your life because everything is in relation to you. Everywhere you go, there you are. You are the center of your snow globe. So when you shift you, your relationship to everything changes. It's not compartmentalized. And that's why this shift is so, so big. It's so big because it's all about your sense of self, your definition of self. Now, not only that, it is exactly conjunct Chiron. Chiron is the core wound, the wounded healer. The Chiron energy is all about transmuting our pain into our power. So in astrology, we read in degrees and minutes. So the sun and the moon are in 19 degrees 24 minutes, exact conjunction. Chiron is also at 19 degrees 24 minutes. So we have an exact conjunction, eclipse to yourself with your core wound as the main focus, transmutation of pain into power. So the story of Chiron is that he is a centaur, and I'm going to paraphrase. So please, mythology experts, please don't come at me. He was a centaur that got cast out of his clan. It was something like he had something happened to him where he couldn't keep up. He wasn't as strong as the rest of the clan. He didn't warrior up with them. Got cast out. In getting cast out, he's on his own. Pain, cast out of my clan, don't fit in. I'm not part of them. I'm not following what I thought was my destined path. He gets adopted by the god Apollo. Under Apollo, he learns all of these things that he would have never come into learning if he had stayed in his centaur clan. As he learns from the god Apollo, he becomes one of the wisest people, centaurs, of his age, and then ends up rising into a higher aspect of life than he would have ever been able to go into had he stayed in the norm core path. So Chiron is all about that part of ourselves that we feel is a wound, that we feel is what's wrong, that we feel is what went wrong. It is all about the transmutation of that in fact is your power, that in fact is going to rise you beyond where you ever thought life was possible. That, like, what you were thinking life was supposed to be was, oh my God, so small compared to what you're actually meant to be. So, this is a huge shift energy. We're feeling it, right? Like, huge shift energy that is happening right now. So, what you want to do right when we get done with the morning show, take a minute. You know what I mean? Like, slow down, stop everything for a minute. Take a minute. If you're a writer, get your journal out and just write down, or you could do it on your phone if you're like real technological. I like writing. Whatever works for you. And journal out right away whatever comes to you around this. Shift in the self, change in your identity, leveling up into who you're meant to be, transmuting your pain into power, closing out the past and old chapters, starting in a new beginning. Journal out whatever comes to your mind that you feel that means for you. Because whatever comes to you right away is right there. That's how source communicates to us. Our job is to just start to listen and trust what we receive. The more that you trust what you receive, the stronger your channel and your intuition gets. So, whatever comes for you right away, write it down because that's it. It's right there. And then ask yourself, is there anything else I need to know around this? Once you're done with that, set your intentions and be clear because just writing that is going to give you some clarity about where you're ready to go. As you decide, so it is. As you decide, so it is. But make a decision about where you want to go. Because if you don't make a decision, you're just going to end up in that back and forth loop. So write down everything because you know, like, if we're real honest, like, you know what you want for your life. You know, we just second guess it, like, in the half second thereafter. But you know what you actually want. You know who you want to be. You know what you want to do. You know what you want to have. You know what you want to experience. Write it down. Write it down so that it has. My mom told me this one time, and I love this. Writing something down is the first step of it physically manifesting because you're taking it out of the mind and you're putting it down on paper into physical reality. Is the first step of bringing it into physical reality. So write it down because as you do, it's going to get you clarity in your mind. And if you have any emotions that come up, by all means, please purge them out of your body. Lauren said, whoa, wise mama. Yep, mama's got some goods. She really does. Okay, and then what was the other things I wanted to say here? So the energy is going to unfold over the next 6 months, right? As we know, pretty much nothing is a one and done. We get things in steps, we get things in layers. So you want to trust what that first step is. You want to trust the first layer. If you've had to purge out some of it so that you can see clearly what the first step is, cool, great. You've done it. but you're going to be stepping into more and more and more this new level of self because Aries energy, self, identity, ego, you're going to be stepping into this new layer of self more and more and more over the next 6 months. Pay attention. I know that's like, it's so easier said than done, but like pay attention. Pay attention to what comes up for you that says you need to start this new way of being. You need to step more into this new way of thinking. You need to embody this way of being and pay attention to what's coming up that's saying, let that go. Let it go. We have so much power within ourselves to just be done with what was. You know what I mean? Like one of the biggest detriments that we do is we have so much loyalty to our past self that we inevitably end up dishonoring our future, dishonoring who we're meant to become because we're like, but I'm insecure. I must latch on to this. But I'm lazy. I must latch on to them. We're so loyal to these past identities that don't serve us anymore. And the truth is that every identity serves you for a time. But as soon as it's ready to be let go, because every identity that we embody has a timeline. This is coming straight from the program Becoming a Conscious Creator that I'm about to re-release. I'm so excited to re-release this program. Every identity has a timeline. When that timeline ends, meaning like let me give you a good example here. If I embody the identity of I need to I need to like hustle up, right? I need to be a boss babe. Like there was a whole boss babe era. You remember that? Like I need to hustle up, I need to get it done, blah, 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 all of that, right? Okay, so that's an identity. For a time period, that identity might really serve you. Like you maybe needed that in your life. But once that time period is complete, that identity will not serve you anymore. Do you feel me on this? It will start creating diminishing returns. So when we are done with an identity timeline, what it will feel like is it won't interest you as much anymore. Something new will start coming online. But if we're attached to that old identity because it worked well for the time period. And we're like, I just got to do it again. I just got to get back. Hear my words. I just got to get back to who I was. Let me tell you right now, the moment you catch yourself saying, I need to get back to where I was, you are looping. You are looping, sister, because there is no back. You couldn't go back if you wanted to go back. It's entirely impossible because you are not who you once were. Can never be again. So sorry, it will never come back. All you can do is move forward. But here's what I want you to know that worked for you, that time period and that identity worked for you at that time because that's what was meant to be. It's not meant to work in the future, it was meant to carry you to here. And now you got to let it go. Let it served its time. It did what it was supposed to do. And now you're evolving. New identity, new levels of consciousness, new ideas, new opportunities, new way of being. So we have to stop looking back because that's just going to keep you stuck. And you've got to start looking forward and say, all right, cool. Thank you, past, for arriving me here. Now looking forward, where am I going? Who am I becoming? What interests me now? What excites me now? What is life all about now? And move into that unknown, which we know we get a little scared of the unknown, amen. But we got to move into that and create it. The only reason that the unknown is scary is if you are sitting in a position where you think that life tells you who you are and what to do. If you are clear on the truth, which is that the unknown, the future is unwritten, and you are the one who writes it, then the unknown becomes very exciting because it's a blank slate. It's like, oh, I decide, okay, what do I want to create from here? What do I want to experience? Who do I want to become? What do I want to do with my life? You are the one who decides when you enter into the unknown. If you don't enter into the unknown and you just keep looking at the past, you're just looping. Like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Okay. So, big energy. Ask what you need to let go of, past versions of yourself that are no longer serving you. It is safe to let them go. It is safe to find out new parts of who I'm becoming. It is safe to let go of what was. There is no getting it back anyway. So we may as well let it go. Step forward, expansion, new, big energy. You are supported, you are loved, all of the things. So we have to start trusting that. And the last piece that I want to say, and we might actually just dive into this a little bit more tomorrow, but this has been really, really resonant with me lately. We've all heard the phrase, all things work in your favor, right? I think even in the Bible, it was like, and all things will be used for your good or whatever it is. I've always heard that, but our mind is like, really? All things work in my favor, really? But I heard this the other day and it has really, really sat with me. And I feel it. You know what I mean? You know when you can feel the truth in something? So, what I heard was if you affirm and declare and know in your being that all things work in your favor, in that you become available for the frequency of reality where it does work in your favor. But if you don't, if you complain and you feel sad for yourself and you're, the sobby McSue and you're like, oh, woe is me. Life is hard. This happened to me, blah, blah, blah. You are not energetically available, meaning you have no chance of experiencing the version of reality where it works in your favor. So when you affirm, this too shall work in my favor, you actually become available to experience that version of reality. But if you don't, you cannot experience that version of reality. If you are complaining about it and you're like something went wrong, this is awful, blah blah blah, then energetically by universal law, you can only experience the version of reality where things don't work out. So this just hit me like a ton of bricks because all versions of reality are available. So why don't we choose the one that works in our favor? No, everything. Literally everything in your life right now, I just want you to be like everything that you thought went wrong. Just right now affirm this always works in my favor. It has to work in my favor or it wouldn't have happened. All things work in my favor because as you do, then you are energetically available to experience that reality. Just try. I mean, the thing that I come back to with all of the mindset and subconscious and energetics and identity and all of this stuff, whenever my ego mind wants to like play, devil's advocate and try to contradict what I know to be true, the game I play is what does it hurt to believe that? Doesn't hurt anything, does it? Like who am I hurting by believing that life gets to work out for me? Is it hurting anything? Nope. Okay. Well, I think I'll go that route then because I really prefer things to just work out in my favor. Okay. So you guys know what you're doing. Look up the time for the eclipse. Sit down with your journal. Just write down everything that's coming through for you. What's the big shift happening for you? All about the self. All about the self. Who you're being, who you're stepping into, what you're letting go. And then when the eclipse happens, I highly, highly recommend just get outside. Don't burn your retina and look at the sun. If you've got the glasses, great. But more than anything, just get out in the energy of it. Tune in. Notice how nature takes it in. Notice how all the birds it's just these seconds of total quiet. Just notice. Be with it because it's a phenomenon. Like how it's just cool. It's just cool. It's just a cool thing. All right. I love you guys so much. I'm so happy we're back. Morning show. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. every single day. If you haven't already, hit the subscribes, hit the likes, all the things. And what else do I have to say? I'm out of practice here. You're so welcome, Lauren. You're so welcome. So share the show, please. Share this if it resonated with you. It helps us to grow the show. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we will check in with what happened today. I love you guys so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Happy eclipse. And I'll see you tomorrow on the other side. Goodbye, my love.